the people that deserve and earn the second path and the second end. He began describing them by being servants of Allah, the most important definition, the defining factor for these people. Further, he spoke about the importance of keeping their promises and also their beliefs about the hereafter. This verse also speaks about an action they did, but the verse also speaks about the intention they had behind it. You remember, this is a theme. Whenever we recite the Holy Quran, we should look for this theme throughout the Holy Quran. You will not find a verse in the Holy Quran where actions are being stressed upon, but there is no attention towards the intention and the belief and the faith behind it, and vice versa. That only Iman and faith is being encouraged and actions are being left alone. Both of these come hand in hand. The way it's mentioned in the Holy Quran is different in different instances. The very standard one is Amanu wa amilu salihat, right? Belief and actions. But over here, you have to look slightly deeper to understand it. So the verse begins with وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَأَسِيرًا. What's the story of this verse? The revelation came down here when the family of our first Imam, and this is in Medina, the family of our first Imam with his two sons and his wife, they faced sickness. And what happened over here was that when they faced the sickness, they had, at that same time, there was poverty in the house. They did not have money to cover their own expenses. Over here, what happens is that the Imam goes to a neighbor. This neighbor had the work. This is one of the narrations. There's different narrations over here, but this seems to be one of the strongest ones that we have. The neighbor was a person that would spin wool. He had wool, he would spin it to create threads and the different uses of wool that's required. Over here, the Imam borrowed from this neighbor some wheat in order to make bread, and also he said that we'll take this wool and spin it for you. So this wool and the wheat arrive at home together, and this task has been given to our beloved Bibi Fatima salamullah alayha. Please say the salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And so she begins to spin the wool and also prepare from this wheat bread that they can use to break their fasts. The idea was to fast for 3 days and break their fasts with the three amounts of wheat that was put aside. So the wool is spun, and at the same time, the bread is being prepared. On the first night, when it's iftar time, if you look at the traditions, it's very beautiful. There's no force that let's all give our food towards this person that has come. In fact, there's a very beautiful narration where our first Imam steps forward, Bibi Fatima follows suit, and the children also follow suit. The same tradition and the standard that the Imam has set, the rest follow through. That when somebody comes on the first night, there's a miskin, a poor person. He comes at the door to knock exactly at the time that they want to break their fast. They give this bread to this miskin. Now this miskin, with one bread, maybe he would have gone back. Right? He's a miskin. They say beggars can't be choosers, right? So whatever he got, he would have gone back with. But the family all decide to give their bread, and this person leaves. And they break their fast with water and possibly salt. They fast the next day again as a family together. Again, in the evening, at the time of breaking their fast, an orphan comes. And again, the same reaction and the same actions you see from the Ahlul Bayt. The third one is very interesting though. The third day, the Quran says a prisoner, asir. Many of the Mufassirin over here say a prisoner. This must have been a non-Muslim to have been a prisoner, because Medina was an Islamic state. The prisoners that were over here were actually under the protection of the Islamic government, the Islamic state, but were not Muslims themselves. So a person that, for example, was at war with the Muslims, was taken as captive, and now, for whatever reason, has been freed or has found his way out and now is on the streets of Medina. This person is fed in the same way. 3 days in a row. The key message over here is sacrifice. And it's much easier said than done. Very easy to say that, we would have done the same thing. Jo apne hot, each keira hot. But it's extremely difficult to really imagine doing that. And the best way to be able to test ourselves that what would we have done in such a situation is to see places in life where it's hard for us to sacrifice certain things. Some people, it's hard for them to sacrifice their money. Some people, it's hard for them to sacrifice their time. Some people, it's hard for them to sacrifice their knowledge and abilities and experience. A person has gained a lot in life, this itself is, again, sacrifice, it's greed. But you see over here, the one thing at that time, after a long day of fasting, a second long day of fasting, a third long day of fasting, and at the door is a non-Muslim person who requires it. But under the protection of the Islamic State, without hesitation, they gave their food. There's actually beautiful poetry that Bibi Fatima Salamullah alayha recites as she's giving the bread to the poor person to inculcate the value of sacrifice in the children. And it's such a beautiful model. If our children grow up in a setting where they see us sacrificing and they see us doing it out of our hearts, not being forced to do it. Right? Let's say, for example, dad has come home from work, he's very tired, he doesn't have, the mental capacity to think too much, but the child sees that dad, the first thing he does when he gets home is to find out what time mosque is starting, for example. He wants to go to the mosque, he wants to be somebody who prays at the mosque, attends the mosque programs. This is a sacrifice that the child sees from a young age. And this value builds itself in the child. Rather, if we take the model of trying to force and shove it down their throat, we say, that you must do this, this actually creates resistance within them. And when they get a chance, the first thing they're looking to do is to do away with these practices. One key part of the verse is this word, or the two words, ala hubbihi. So they fed these three people, ala hubbihi. There's two explanations for ala hubbihi. One meaning of ala hubbihi is out of the love of Allah. So hinting towards their intention, that it is out of the love of Allah that they made these sacrifices. But another explanation over here that matches certain other verses as well, and many of the Mufassirin have preferred the second opinion, is that at that point they really wanted to eat this bread. They had an attachment and connection towards this food at that point. They've not eaten the whole day. They've not had anything. They're waiting. Imam Ali has taken a loan and taken up work, right, to spin this wool to be able to get this wheat. It's pure halal, earned by his wife. They had planned that we'll eat together, and when it comes to the time to eat is when they have to sacrifice. So even though they wanted to have this bread, they gave it in the way of Allah. That's true sacrifice. And often we work in a different manner. The things that jarur na thi, kapti na thi vastu ibijao ne ape. But the things that we want and we really are attached to ourselves, those are the things that we're not ready to let go of. So you see somebody, mashallah, giving so much, which is very good. But if you look at the things that they're giving, they're things that they don't use any longer, they don't need any longer. The Quran says, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. The same word is used. That you will not reach righteousness until you give out of that which you love. Allah uses the word love, the things that you truly love. Sometimes, like I said, this is reputation. It's not always possessions. The next verse, this is a verse that obviously has a lot, but because we want to progress, I'm going to move on to the next verse. The next verse hints at their intention. Over here, they proclaim their intention. They say it out loud, and the verse has actually quoted them and their sentence that they have towards these people that need the food. إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ. And this is why the second opinion is preferred. That look, this is the verse where it talks about the reasoning. إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ, they say we do not. إِنَّمَا in Arabic means solely, only, kali. We only give you this food, only. We have no other intention except to achieve the face of Allah. The face of Allah over here means the connection that a person can form with Allah. Face is that part of the human being that you interact with, that you connect with. We want that true connection with Allah. إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ. We gave this purely and solely for connection with Allah. We don't have any other reason. And that's why it's followed by this. This is something that we need to learn. لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا. And we do not want anything from you. لا نريد منكم. Minkum comes first. From you, we do not want any repayment. We don't want any thanks even. Now, mashallah, nowadays when somebody donates something, yes, it's a sacrifice. Often, you know, but even then, they want their name everywhere. They want thanks. They want to be recognized. They want to be, you know, honored for it. The best type of sadaqah that comes purely with the pure intention is where we say loud and clear, إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ. The minkum is very important. We want a lot from Allah. We want more than what we gave from Allah. But from the people that we gave it to, we do not want anything. لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا. And the final ayah will speak very quickly. إِنَّا نَخَافُ مِنْ رَبِّنَا يَوْمًا عَبُوسًا قَمْطَرِيرًا. And this is because we are fearful. In our hearts we have the fear. Where does this intention of wajhillah, solely for Allah, come from? A belief that they have, that there is a hereafter. The hereafter is going to be difficult unless we prepare ourselves. The act of sacrifice means that something we have over here that we can use temporarily, we send it forward and we use it eternally. This is the basic level of sacrifice. There's one instance where the Holy Prophet had his companions come over, and the Holy Prophet over here, he had an animal, and this animal, the Holy Prophet ate one of its arms, and the rest of it he gave in the way of Allah, and the companions ate, and the people who were needy ate. One of the wives came to the Prophet and told the Holy Prophet, "O Prophet, you only ate one arm of this animal, and the rest you gave away." And the Prophet says it's exactly the opposite. I only wasted one arm of the animal, the rest of it I've sent forward. The part that I ate was the part that I did not send forward eternally. The rest of it, by sharing it with others, I've sent it to my fixed deposit account. So this is the basic level of sacrifice. Of course, the level of the Ahlul Bayt is much higher than this. Inshallah, we pray to Allah that we get a chance to understand the meaning of sacrifice and be amongst those that implement it in our lives. وصلى الله على محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.